Imagine a time, over 2,000 years ago, when the world was divided by oceans, mountains, and deserts. No smartphones, no airplanes, no global trade. And yet, somehow, people from distant lands were connected, exchanging goods, ideas, and cultures. This is the story of the Silk Road, an ancient network of trade routes that bridge the East and West, shaping the course of history in ways that still influence us today. The Silk Road wasn't just one road, but rather a series of interconnected paths that spanned across continents, from China all the way to the Mediterranean. The name itself, Silk Road, may make you think of luxurious fabric, but the story goes far beyond just silk. In fact, the road was a lifeline for trade, culture, and communication, stretching over 4,000 miles and passing through deserts, mountains, and cities bustling with merchants, travelers, and scholars. So how did this legendary route come to be? Let's rewind the clock to its beginnings. The Silk Road's origins go back to the Han Dynasty in China, around the 2nd century BCE. Emperor Wu of Han wanted to expand his empire's influence and establish diplomatic and trade relations with Central Asia. But there was a problem. China was separated from the West by vast, harsh landscapes, including the Taklamakan Desert and the towering Himalayas. Enter Zhang Qian, a Chinese diplomat and explorer who was sent on a mission to forge alliances. His journey took him through dangerous terrain and foreign lands, but what he discovered was far more valuable than he could have imagined: a network of tribes and kingdoms eager to trade. Zhang Qian's journey would lay the foundation for the Silk Road, as he reported back to Emperor Wu about the possibilities of trading goods like silk, spices, and precious metals with regions as far as Persia and beyond. It wasn't long before the Han Dynasty began trading with nomadic peoples and merchants in Central Asia, marking the birth of what would become a global trade route. But how did something so far-reaching, crossing continents and cultures, actually work? The Silk Road was more than just one continuous road. It was a sprawling network of trade routes that connected cities and civilizations. Major trading hubs like Xi'an in China, Samarkand in modern-day Uzbekistan, and Ctesiphon in ancient Persia became melting pots of diverse cultures, languages, and religions. Merchants, often traveling in caravans, moved precious goods like silk, spices, teas, and porcelain from the east. In return, they brought back gold, glassware, wool, and even horses from the west. Along the way, people traded not only material goods, but also ideas, technologies, and religions. It's like the ancient version of Amazon, but with a lot more camels and less packaging. As goods traveled, so did cultures. Buddhism spread from India to China, while the influence of Greek culture reached Central Asia. The Silk Road became a channel for everything from astronomy to medicine, opening the doors for an exchange of knowledge that would shape the world. Let's talk about some of the iconic goods that define the Silk Road. First, there's silk, the fabric that gave this entire trade route its name. But silk wasn't just about luxury. It was a symbol of China's power and cultural influence. In fact, the secret of silk making was so closely guarded by the Chinese that for centuries, anyone caught smuggling silkworms or the process of weaving it was punished by death. And did you know that the reason you don't see silk everywhere today is because the Romans were so desperate to get their hands on it, they tried to steal it? They eventually succeeded in smuggling the secret of silk production back to the West. But silk wasn't the only thing that traveled. Spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves were also hugely valuable, transforming European cuisine and opening up the spice trade for centuries. And then there were precious stones, ruby, jade, lapis lazuli, passed along the route, making their way to distant empires. While the Silk Road was a great boon for trade, it wasn't without its dangers. Travel across the Silk Road was long and perilous. Deserts like the Taklamakan and the Gobi were unforgiving, and the high mountain ranges like the Tian Shan and the Hindu Kush posed extreme challenges for caravans. Ever tried to travel with a caravan of camels through a sandstorm? Yeah, it wasn't as glamorous as the movies make it seem. Bandits, nomadic tribes, and hostile empires made travel risky, but it was the desire for wealth that kept merchants on the move. In some places, like the Taklamakan Desert, there were even trade outposts established, which became the ancient equivalent of gas stations, where travelers could rest, refuel, and buy supplies. For more than 1,000 years, the Silk Road flourished. But by the 15th century, the rise of the Ottoman Empire and the increasing danger from invading forces made travel across the Silk Road increasingly difficult. Sea routes also became more popular, thanks to explorers like Vasco da Gama. But even as the physical route started to fade away, the legacy of the Silk Road remained. The exchange of ideas, goods, and culture continued to shape the world. In fact, the Silk Road helped lay the foundation for the globalization we experience today, where the world is more interconnected than ever. So why does the Silk Road matter today? Well, when you look at the world now, trade routes crisscrossing continents, cultures blending through media and technology, you're seeing the echoes of the Silk Road. It wasn't just a trade route, it was a bridge between civilizations, helping to weave together the tapestry of human culture that continues to shape our world. The story of the Silk Road is a reminder that, no matter how vast or different the world may seem, we are all connected. And that connection has been growing for centuries, thanks to the courage and curiosity of those who dared to venture into the unknown. So next time you pick up your phone, sip your coffee, or wear your favorite silk shirt, remember, it's all part of an ancient legacy of connection that started on the Silk Road.